Hello everybody, welcome into a special midweek edition of the Telegram Basketball Insiders. I'm Josh Walters, joined as always by Foster Lander. And Foster, we're here to discuss the 11 teams that are playing in this week's NCHSAA state playoffs for basketball. We'll start in 1A. Both Tarboro teams, the number 3 seed of the Two Rivers Conference, are roughly the same, 21, 23 seed in the actual tournament. They're both on the road. I'm going to assume you and I agree that the girls going to Weldon, a team that actually has an above 500 record, probably not a good matchup for the Vikings girls. So we'll move to the boys for a second. You saw them last week play North Edgecombe. That next day they got blown out by Riverside Martin, a team that they had played fairly close 2 times during the regular season. And guess who their first round opponent is? Riverside Martin again. So do you give the Vikings a chance going on the road in the first round of the state playoffs to maybe pull off an upset and get to the second round?
I give them a chance because the third time they played Riverside Martin was on a back-to-back day, so it's a little bit tough going on the road like that. The key for Tarboro all year is that they've been kind of inconsistent, but they've been obviously like anybody else at their best when they make shots. And when they make shots, it usually comes in bunches. They put up 80, 90 kind of points. So if they can go on the road and make some three-pointers, guys like Rasheed Carey, then I certainly give them a chance.
Well, speaking of teams that are inconsistent, I think that move a little bit west in Edgecombe County to southwest Edgecombe. A team on the boys' side that can win games by 20 over Washington and lose games by 20 to Washington. As we saw, it's very confusing. They're the 31 seed, barely sneaking into the playoffs, and they get to go to undefeated Fairmont. I'm going to go on a limb and say that you are not favoring the Cougars in that one. And the girls, they're the 2 seed in the South in the Eastern Plains Conference. By far the most inconsistent team I saw this year. They had a golden opportunity with how poor the Eastern Plains was to go 8-2 and be a solid number 2 seed. They went 5-5 in the conference. They split with everybody that wasn't North Pitt. They swept North Johnston in the regular season, then in the conference tournament, lost to North Johnston. Thank God North Pitt was that good that they didn't lose their number 2 seed. But they get a home game against Warren County. I'm picking against the Cougars, like I said, because in a 1-game playoff when you need your best, I don't trust Southwest to be able to do it. Do you have any opinions on the Lady Cougars? Yeah, okay.
Hard to trust them.
So let's move on to a conference we both know very well, and that's the Big East. We'll start with the boys. The champion Southern Nash gets the 8 seed, a home game against Western Alamance. How much does winning a conference championship build that momentum needed to play a home playoff game now coming up tonight?
Well, for Southern Nash, it's a program that's kind of needed belief all along, and they got belief as they closed out the regular season strong, and then as they went on that tournament run, and you could just see it kind of slowly building throughout the playoffs. They had really good crowds with them at Fike and really helped, and so just the momentum, it seems like more than anybody else, a program that maybe isn't used to winning as much as programs like Rocky Mount or Hunt, which is nothing against Southern Nash, but a program that needed something to go right for it finally just had that. So that certainly will help them big time.
Well, I think being the 8th seed gives Southern Nash a big advantage because not only would they host tonight when they host Western Alamance, they host the second round game here against the number 9 seed Eastern Wayne, who's 5-17, or the 24 seed, had to do math there, in Northern Vance, who's 12-10. So it's entirely plausible that those 2 home games gives them an opportunity to go to most likely Eastern Alamance again to play for a spot in the regional semifinal. And a fun fact, the Big East champion has played in the regional semifinal at least in every year since 2010. So that's high expectations for Southern Nash.
Yeah.
To live up to. Granted, I don't think this team is as good as the Hunt teams of the past and the Rocky Mountain teams to pass have won state championships or at least played for state championships. So that's lofty expectations. But speaking of Rocky Mountain, the other team on the boys' side who's hosting a first round game, they get Hillsborough Cedar Ridge. Rocky Mountain's playing with a lot of confidence right now. They feel like, okay, maybe if we had played like this the entire season, maybe we'd have a better record. But I mean, is it really going to matter? I guess at the end of the day, is Rocky Mount a team that can potentially maybe pull off a stunner, I'll say, because they'll be heavy underdogs even at home, and beat Cedar Ridge.
Rocky Mount has been fun to watch in recent weeks. The 0-13 start, and then they end up with the number 2 seed out of the Big East, which is about as unlikely as it gets. But they play really, really good defense, and they play hard. But they're up for a tall task tonight against Hillsborough.
You look at Cedar Ridge; they have so many good guard play, and that's the one thing I can't count on for Rocky Mountain. And I think we saw in the Big East championship game, where Sproul doesn't hit his shots, and Barnhill's kind of, he's in foul trouble. Barnhill's kind of slowly, wasn't all there. Ramsey hit a couple of big shots, but he hit as many big shots as he did against Northern Nash. I mean, how important is the guard play if Rocky Mountain's going to be able to pull off an upset here?
Well, it's huge, and it really helped them against Southern Nash in their final regular season meeting, where Sproul had 27 on 7 threes, and they made a huge fourth quarter comeback. But they have good inside players, good rebounders, maybe not the most skilled guys, but they were guys that were sort of carrying them at the start of that run. But if Rocky Mount does not get any scoring from their guards like they did not in that Big East title game, then I don't see them having any chance.
All right, so we'll move quickly to the last 2 Big East teams from our area that made it from the boys' side. Northern Nash won the draw technically to be the 23 seed, but lost in the sense that they didn't have to play. They're not getting a chance to play Eastern Wayne, who's 5-17. They're going to play 22-2 Jacksonville. Any chance for the Knights?
Not much. Not for me, at least.
And then the Bulldogs of Nash Central. They had a chance to win the Big East title, lock up that number 1 seed, lock up a home game. They can't win the last day at Southern Nash. They can't win the Big East tournament, kind of fall flat in that first game against Northern Nash, and their result is going to Southern Lee to play their first round match. I mean, what type of chance did you give the Bulldogs against the Cavaliers?
It depends on what Nash Central team we see. Is it the one that started out Big East play really well and got really big scoring from Josh Mullins and Elijah Cole, or the team that just you weren't quite sure what you were going to see on a nightly basis, who was going to shoot the ball well, if they were going to play defense and kind of play to their strengths. So it really just depends who shows up.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at the Bulldogs, it's all about that confidence, like you're saying. They didn't have that confidence against Northern Nash in the Big East tournament that we saw from them during Big East play. And that's something. If they can find a way to regain their confidence in a week, I give them a good chance as any, because you got to feel like Josh Mullins can score a bunch. And if Josh Mullins scores a bunch, they always have a chance. But if they don't have that confidence, Mullins could go up 40, but I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. We'll end quickly with the girls. Where I think if we look at the team that's going to be against the furthest in this playoffs from our region, I think it's going to be Nash Central's girls team. They earned the number 4 seed, reporting at 20-2 record. They get to host Western Randolph, Eastern Randolph, one of the two. One of those Randolph schools. I'm sorry, Randolph County. Not a great team. Bulldogs maybe a little bit surprised by how Rocky Mount played them in the semifinals of the Big East tournament. What is it about the Bulldogs that you like so much, maybe?
We were talking about this a little bit off camera just before we filmed. There's just the balance. Girls like Robbie Allen, Maya Spivey, and Michaela Nelms, there's 3 girls that really can do a lot on any given night. So especially for a team that might be unfamiliar with them, they're not going to be sure where to start looking, of who to stop. So the balance, and not like a one-man team or a one-girl team, I guess, is going to make them a tough out.
Definitely, and you look at the bracket set up nicely from them being the 4 seed, and being the 4 seed, it's going to be helpful if they get to a third round game. They have to play Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill has to come here, and I think that's a big ask of we're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-old girls making an hour-long bus ride on a Saturday to a tiny little gym in Nash County. Nash Central is going to be very pumped. They're going to be very excited if they can get there, of course. And the bracket, I think, is very favorable for them to get there. That maybe you got a chance at, even as good as Chapel Hill is, maybe Nash Central is going to be able to stick around a little bit more if the game's close. You said, there are plenty of playmakers for Nash Central to maybe pull one out and maybe advance to a regional semifinal, or even maybe a regional final if they get ever so lucky.
See why not?
And then we'll run through quickly. Rocky Mount High, they're at home against Lee County. I like the Lady Griffons to at least win this game and then lose at Rockingham County. What do you see about with the Lady Griffons coming off a big East championship?
Yeah, you have to like the way that they close the season and the way Kiana Spivey especially has been playing. For me, it depends if they can make some three-pointers. Michelle Gady, some of those girls, if they can knock a couple down. You saw that against Nass Central when they got to a 19-0 first quarter lead. It's because they hit 4 threes. So that's the main difference for them.
And then Northern Nash, they also somehow got a home game as the 3 seed out of the East, out of the Big East. They will host Swansboro. If they can beat Swansboro, they get more than likely the top seed in Terry Sanford. But Northern Nash is a puzzle. They play great defense, and we know Grover Battle is going to play tough, aggressive defense, and that's going to win them a lot of games, particularly this time of year. But, I mean, do they have the offensive firepower to maybe make a deep run, kind of like what we saw from them last year or in years past?
It's not something I've seen. That if Jalia Williams is hitting shots, which she's done for the most part this year, but if she's not hitting shots, then I haven't seen enough out of some of those other girls to make me believe that they can make a deep run.
And maybe more importantly, when we talk about Jalia Williams, she's got to stay on the court. She got into so much foul trouble in that Big East championship game, and Northern Nash really had no idea what to do without Jalia Williams on the court. When Jalia Williams was on the court, they were making a comeback at Rocky Mount High. They were closing the gap, and all of a sudden Jalia picks up her 4th foul. She sits on the bench, and Rocky Mount High extends that lead back out to 12 or 14 points. So if she stays on the court, I like Northern Nash's chances to potentially be a little bit of a surprise team. But I agree with you, that the offensive firepower around her is too inconsistent for me. I think they are 2-done. I think they'll beat Swansboro and then lose to Terry Sanford. But thank you guys for joining us this basketball season. The next time you see us, we'll be recapping everything there is to know in Twin Counties basketball.